kilometers an hour. This hypercar scratches at the boundaries of
It is this ambivalence between beauty and beast.
this ultra-powerful engineering work of art, the developers even better.
You start worked up.
The mission, a hyper sports car with 1,000 hour and a top speed of 420 kilometers an hour.
The whole world said you'll never manage to cram so much.
The whole world was wrong, but the in this rocket poses new challenges.
You have to be sure that you've still got enough weight to take off.
To ensure a healthy body mass, engineers have fitted the all-wheel drive vehicle with lots of carbon, titanium, normal. The design engineers all agree about that.
No.
God created heaven and earth. The spear is located in Molsheim, France. The Bugatti. These record-holding dream cars have been built on the site of the former family's. Built in 2004 in the form of accommodations lovingly refer to the new production building as the. Inside, 20 employees time at 12 stations. With these
Manual work. It's like in a Formula One racing stable. People who share a passion to develop, build, and sell
around 2,600 individual parts to form a. The Chiron's hood conceals pure performance. This enables the Bugatti to reach its record-breaking speed of 420 kilometers an hour. 4 offset operating turbochargers accelerate the 1,500 horsepower projectile from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. Special stations in Molsheim. They each contain 2 independent lifting platforms because they're during production. 3 mechanics always assemble what is called the Chiron's rolling chassis strictly by hand.
cars. There are no mirrors accelerate from 0 to 100 in less than 3 seconds. We're talking about numbers and performance that are somehow unreal. But this simply represents a lot of work.
This, but also an engine that's capable of driving in the summer and winter, and that's something of a challenge. Power, and Volkswagen is adept at building good engines for the road, for golf. But this
Is possible. 8 cylinders are distributed over each of the 2 with 16 cylinders. The W16 achieves its maximum acceleration with 4 high-performance turbos intaken at the front of the vehicle and presses it into the combustion chamber in stages. Turbo 3 and 4 cut in at 2,800 RPM. This prevents turbo lag and therefore at production Nest 2, a new crankcase is ready to be assembled. A mechanic to the crankshaft. Before the engine builders continue their work, they use an electronic torque wrench to simulate serious engine damage called piston seizure, could occur later while driving. Produced at the plant premises in Molsheim. Although working conditions 110 years ago were certainly tougher, the basic structure of high-performance engines has barely changed. With his European automobile history, even back then.
Developed and built vehicles that are still icons of motoring history today, with the Bugatti Atlantic. Ettore Bugatti was a perfectioner in this plant back in the 20s and 30s. Plant, an atelier rather than a factory, is quite a state. The entire Molsheim site here in Alsace, France, is unique for an automotive manufacturer, and no other manufacturer can offer that.
Bus with a top speed of 200 kilometers an hour. Ettore laughed at for his unconventional ideas. In the 20s, Bugatti's super sports cars achieved fame, thanks above all to their records and race victories. The name Chiron also played a role back then.
Chiron was a racing driver in the 1920s who won a lot of races with Bugattis. Named after him is the ultimate hypersports car, and the end.
However, the objective of production sports car in the form of the new Chiron was viewed.
The whole world said you'll never manage to cram so much power in a car. You add turbochargers to it, and at some point you achieve that power, and then you're faced with a big problem that you can't find a test bench anywhere in the world that can cope with this power.
but its paces until the manifold glows. Once completed, the engineers test the power out the combustion engine down and coupled it to a dynamometer. It's able to demand the engine's full output of 1,500
The road. If an engine has survived that, it can survive anything.
A gigantic blower cools the engine during the test. Special sensors, legal specifications. Corresponding measures that the engineers plan on their screens then have to be verified on the real. At the same time, however, the engine sound must. The acoustic factors are particularly crucial to the Chiron.
What the driver's hearing is an entirely unconscious process. All of this characterizes the overall noise perceived by the driver.
New models than a genuine motor racing expert. For Le Mans winner, Andy Wallace is Bugatti's test driven around 100,000 kilometers in the luxury sports car from
If you like cars and you dream about supercars, this one is the top, the very top of the pile. And for me to be able to drive this car every day, if you told me that when I was 7 years old, I never would have believed you. So for me,
484 kilometers an hour. The Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus pre-production. And covering around 11 square kilometers, the test site in forest. Curves and straights follow in difficult to keep the vehicle on track.
constantly turning to go straight. And this is at the same time, second. Everything's coming at you really, really quick. So this are crazy, and you have to try and keep all that under control. So it's not something you can practice. You just end up doing it, and it's
3.5 kilometers ahead of the record. Up speed. The down thrust, also called down freezes. This causes the front end to lift. Complicated aerodynamics concept to counteract the to take off after 70 seconds at full throttle.
Wow, guys, what a feat. I can't thank you enough.
In the atelier in Molsheim, France, an important component to a newly arrived engine block. Two mechanics now couple this 7-speed direct shift. The automatic shift unit ensures constant power output when shifting gear to an assembly station. Covering 1,000 square meters, the shop is more akin to a sterile abrasion from car tires on the highly polished synthetic resin floor. The two-seater's engine, the hypercar, has no rigid axle. This means that each wheel can be actuated individually. As a result, the 2-ton Bugatti remains stable even when taking tight corners on a wet. The onboard computer regulates the 4 wheels toes. The entire Stream sports car is adaptive.
These include 7 mechanics, 4 coach builders, 3 technicians, and 4 electricians. A team of 20 persons assembles a vehicle in 8 weeks. This needs to
Work very precisely. You can't afford to make mistakes.
Compensates the differences in wheel speeds when cornering. The wheels on the inner side of a and therefore turn more slowly. Outer wheels require more power to cover the greater distance in the same time. A transmitter to the hypercar's individual wheels to varying degrees. Its top speed of 420 kilometers an hour poses a major challenge. The temperature can soar to 1,100 degrees. That's as hot as glowing light. The men in the atelier therefore also fit a heat shield.
Where you see material and where there is no material at all, there's also no load on the part. That means you can save that weight. It doesn't need any styling lines, but just so interesting and so intriguing that you leave well enough alone and apply it to the car.
Each Chiron and can be completely individualized. The choice of material a specific purpose.
To a lot of people, that line looks like a stylistic idea of it. The performance need from the engineer was as much air intake along the whole body side of the car was needed to feed all that pressured air into the engine compartment for cooling purposes. And for me, that is always the most authentic.
Bugatti's vehicle DNA has constantly evolved according to this principle, due to its shape, horseshoe. In 1910, however, the first Bugatti model, the Type 13, had an egg-shaped and cooled the increasingly larger engine. The designers adapted the look of the grille to the technique of a Bugatti whose shape or weight has not been optimized through and past the vehicle. This presses the Chiron onto the asphalt and cools the brakes. Situation: 0.8 seconds after applying the brakes, the adaptive wing tilts to an angle of 49 degrees, thus acting as an extremely effective. In 2017, the air brake played an kilometers an hour from a standing start. After 700 meters, he was in the 33rd second, the Columbia 400 kilometer an hour mark. Vehicle to a standstill again after 400. Montoya took exactly 41 points, covered a distance of 3.1 kilometers to accelerate the. So far, no other vehicle has managed outstanding performance. A force during maximum braking from top speed. This brings the hypercar's rearing maneuver. Forces of around 2G act on the vehicle and the driver. At the Bugatti premises in Molsheim, France. Scratched during its first test drive, the employee is covering.
It takes half a day to cover the Chiron with film, but it's up to us not to damage the car under any circumstances. We want to deliver a perfect vehicle. We simulate all the driving situations that the customer might encounter: villages, country roads, mountains, freeways, and roads. Only then can the customer safely drive the vehicle at its top speed of 400 kilometers per hour.
Into the driver's seat for around 5 hours. The cockpit is also fitted with protective covers. The tester tests different factors in the interior of the Chiron. If a leather sect in his log, the tester then limits. He communicates with the tower crew by radio. The storm drives up to the start of the 1.6 kilometer long bird, hits the accelerator. An hour in around 13 seconds. However, as soon as the high-speed key is in over 400 kilometers an hour, any defect can.
The Chiron is wonderful to drive. It is as if you were skiing.
After high-end production stations in Molsheim, 210 years of vehicle production, nothing about has changed.